Let me begin by saying that I know that confidence is perhaps overused and overhyped term, and we are going to embrace a new definition for confidence that I'm going to share with you. But for this evening, at least for the first part of this talk, let's just go with it. Let's just go with confidence as a term. And the reason why I feel so passionate about this, because I'm fortunate to have worked with loads of lovely clients and students. And what I've noticed, regardless whether people are starting out with the journey or they are more advanced, and even professionals in the spiritual realm, the reason why people get blocked is not because they're lazy, is not because they're not good enough, is not because they're not really trying, is very often because of lack of confidence. And so I feel very strongly that it's an important topic to address, and this is definitely my intention for this evening. So this evening we're going to cover several different things. Several different things. And the first thing that we are going to do is just to get a sense for the impact of lack of self-confidence and self-doubt in your spiritual development. I really feel it cannot be understated. So we'll take a look at that first. Then I'm going to share with you from my experience, again, with clients and with students, the top 5 blocks and fears that typically are the stumbling blocks for people when they're trying to grow their practice, grow the spiritual development and themselves as individuals. And obviously a few suggestions on how to tackle those blocks. As I said, we're going to embrace hopefully a new definition of confidence that is something that we can get closer to our heart and embrace without it feeling fake or artificial or something that, you know, you need to be extroverted to be confident. That's not true. And then we will learn one really powerful mindset shift that is going, I'm hoping and I'm confident, is going to really help you changing the way you look at yourself, at your spiritual practice, and how you work with others. So before we begin, I'd like to share my intention for this evening with you. Really, my intention is to bring awareness and clarity and to provide all the help and support that you need to progress in your journey so that you can really, truly embrace your gifts, your talent, and feel confident to share them with the rest of the world, because the world needs them and needs you. So let's begin by maybe talking about some things that you might be experiencing. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You feel that you want to make a difference. You feel that you're committed to your path. You feel that you've been working on your gifts and your talents. You feel perhaps that you have a calling, a real purpose and a calling. And on the most basic level, you care. You really care about not just developing for yourself, but also for others, for the highest good of the world. All of these things are things that you feel. And yet there is something that is not clicking. And there is that puzzling moment where you think, I'm so committed, I really care about this, I feel I have a calling, I feel I want to get involved, but there is just something that is not allowing me to go all in, to really do the work that I feel in my heart I want to do. And when we talk about lack of self-confidence, and of course this evening we are going to focus especially on the spiritual side of things, okay? But you might experience this in other aspects of your life as well. The most common way that this manifests in someone's life is, of course, self-doubt, second-guessing yourself. So, for example, if you are an intuitive, a medium, a psychic reader, perhaps you receive a message and you're not sure if you can trust that message. You don't really feel ready to deliver it to your client or the person that you're working with. If you are a healer, you get a sense, you get a feeling in your hands, you think you should go for something, but you second guess yourself. You don't have the confidence of jumping in and starting doing the work that you need to do with your client. So these things are, I would say, are quite common. They happen fairly often, but then there are other ways, other maybe a little bit more sneaky ways that confidence or lack of confidence shows up in our lives. Another way is comparison. We look at others and they're always better than us. We compare what we have done with what other people are doing. And of course, they're always better. They always seem more knowledgeable, more self-assured, more confident than what we are. So comparison is another way that the lack of self-confidence comes up. And of course, feeling not good enough, feeling that you are not experienced enough, not knowledgeable enough, even though perhaps you've been developing for many years, even though perhaps you have loads of certificates, you attended some wonderful courses, you're fully certified and qualified, but you still feel, there's more that I need to know. And some other ways are perhaps, and certainly I know that I suffer from this as well, so I'm not immune from this as well. Perfectionism, overthinking, over-planning, just wanting to control everything, wanting everything to be like in place, perfect, so that we get a sense, perhaps a fake sense of being in control of the situation. And the final one that I also see very often with my student especially, they go back and overthink, overanalyze a lot of the a lot of the readings that they've done, a lot of the sessions that they have done, and they go through and they start to kind of being very severe with themselves and say, I shouldn't have said this, or I should have done that. So those are all different ways that lack of confidence can show up for you. But the bottom line is that you might end up, as a result, perhaps to be more focused on yourself than your client if you're practicing with other people, because you're self-conscious and you're worried about what to do next rather than caring for the person that you're working with. Or maybe you feel shy about your spiritual practice and your development. You don't talk about it. You don't know how to express your passion for it, although of course you are extremely involved and committed to it. Or maybe you never feel that you're ready for the next stage to progress, wherever the next stage is for you. Perhaps the next stage is starting working as a spiritual practitioner, having clients, charging for your services, or maybe the next stage is taking a more advanced course, or just going outside of your comfort zone. So these are some of the ways that lack of confidence shows up for people, and the impact that this has in their lives. So it comes in a lot of different shapes and forms. And something that I wanted to share with you from my observation, again, with clients and with students, the top 5 fears and blocks that I found are very, very common with people. And my hope is that sharing these with you would will make you feel that you are less alone, that other people are experiencing this, but also that there are ways of dealing with it. Okay, so the first one that comes up very, very frequently is the fear of being wrong, or the fear of not being accurate, especially for those of you, again, that do intuitive work, psychic readings, card readings, that fear of not getting it right. Second fear, not knowing enough, feeling unprepared, that can then lead into things such as full-on imposter syndrome. Number 3, looking silly. What are the people going to say? People are going to judge me. Number 4, fear of being seen, of being visible, and as such of being vulnerable. And number 5, that awkward feeling that you might get asking for money or any other type of compensation for the energy that you put into your work and your services. So let's go through this again and trying to assess them. And by the way, if you have experienced any of these blocks and fears, please share with us in the chat, so that we can have more of a conversation about this as well. So being wrong, this is a big one, especially when you're starting off developing your psychic abilities. Being wrong is a big one for a lot of students, for a lot of people. And here is the thing, you will be wrong, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. You will get things wrong. When you do mediumship, when you do tarot readings, when you do psychic work, it's not a perfect science. It's not one of those cases where 2 + 2 is always 4. It really isn't. You will get things wrong. You will be maybe a little bit off sometimes, and some other times you will be spectacularly wrong. And that's okay. The important thing is, number one, learning from it, getting the feedback from the client, feedback from the person that you're working with, or if you're working on predictions for yourself and guidance from yourself, just thinking, okay, I thought this was going to happen from the message that I received, but actually was something different. I will make a note of this, so the next time I know that that symbol, that image, that message that I received, actually I need to take on board in a slightly different way. Something else, if you're working with clients, other people, sometimes the message is bang on, it's perfect. It's just maybe that person isn't ready to receive it. So they might say to you, no, it doesn't resonate with me, but it is an accurate and very valid message. It's just something that they're not ready to receive. All of this to say that please don't let the fear of being wrong prevent you from sharing a message that could be truly healing and uplifting for someone. And I want to share this story with you. When I was doing psychic development many years ago, it was a lovely circle, and I was paired up with someone, and this lady did a beautiful reading for me, and then it was my turn, and it was my turn to reciprocate. So of course I really wanted to do a good job for this person. I wanted to show off, my skills, really give her a wonderful reading, and everything that I would get, that I was just getting images of Disney princesses. So I was getting Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, and you name it, they were all there. And I was so embarrassed. I felt like, how can I even deliver this message? What type of message is this? Why am I seeing like cartoons? And after a few minutes, I said to her, I'm really sorry. I don't have any messages for you. The only thing that is coming through for me, and I feel so silly, so embarrassed to share this with you, is I get Disney cartoons. That's all I'm getting. Now, luckily, I shared that with that person. And this lady said, wow, that's amazing. You know what? This weekend, I'm going to go to Disneyland. This is a lifelong dream for me. I always wanted to go. Since when I was a child, it's been my dream. I really wanted to go there. And I just really look forward to go there. It's not just a trip for me. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience that I'm looking forward. Now, always share the message, even if it sounds silly, even if you're going to embarrass yourself slightly, because sometimes the message that perhaps doesn't make complete sense for you will make perfect sense for your client. Okay, so number 2, the fear of not knowing enough, feeling unprepared, and even going in the realm of imposter syndrome. And I completely understand this. I feel, especially in today's world where we see success everywhere, where everything on social media is so perfect, so polished, is so hard to operate in a world where everything just seems perfect at all times. But here is a suggestion for you. If you feel that you are not good enough at something, and that really your confidence is wavering, what I would suggest to you is go smaller. What do I mean? Let me give you a practical example. Let's say that you are a healer, but you don't really feel comfortable about healing. You're still learning, you're not sure. Go smaller. Instead of doing a full-on healing of someone, do a simple grounding healing on that person. Don't do the full-on healing, just do a simple, very basic part of your practice. And do this for a set amount of times. For example, give yourself 10 times, or 1 week, or 2 weeks. So you're dialing it down, bringing your energy in your comfort zone. And once you have built your confidence doing something that is maybe simpler, of a longer type of spiritual practice or healing practice, you will start feeling more confident in your abilities. But it is very important, otherwise you will keep yourself small forever, that you give yourself a benchmark. So give yourself, a target, an objective. Give yourself a certain number of times that you will do this for, or a certain number of weeks or months that you will do this for. And once you complete that, that's your big tick. Yes, I'm ready to go now. And this really signals yourself and your energy that, yes, I'm ready to go. I've given myself something tangible that I can be proud of, and then I can step into the next stage of my development. And if you're one of my students, I sometimes talk about the 100 readings, which is a challenge that I give to some of my students that want to transition into working for, reading and being intuitives and healers as a full-time job. I said, if you don't feel confident about stepping in that part, then just do 100 readings for free, pro bono, for people. Once you're done those, you're going to have such a strong confidence that you can do 1,000 more, then your mindset will change completely. So that's for the imposter syndrome and not knowing enough. Little trick there on how you could address that. Number 3, looking silly and being judged by people. Okay, so again, another point that I really understand, and I think there are 2 aspects here. Number 1, sometimes as we develop spiritually, the people that surround us are not necessarily developing at the same way, at the same speed. Perhaps some of you have experienced losing some friends along the way, and making new ones, of course. But it can happen that people around us are maybe less supportive than what we were hoping for, and that's okay. But regardless to this, what I would invite you to ask yourself is it more important that I am myself, I'm honest to myself, I help others, and I follow my path, or to look normal? Okay, so when you put things into context, this looking normal and not looking silly becomes a little bit less important. Okay, so I invite you to reflect on this and then think whether it is so important to you, the fear of looking silly or the fear of being judged. Okay. Number 4. This one, it's, I would say maybe a more complex one, and is the fear of being seen. Assuming that you live in an environment where it's safe for you to practice healing, to practice, whatever spiritual tool you use, and so on. If you feel that there is a disconnect between your actual physical safety and how perhaps worried you feel about sharing your own practice, I found in my experience that it might be something that energetically is linked with energetic trauma, early age or childhood trauma being seen, but even more frequently ancestral trauma and past life trauma. So that there have been occasions, whether that is in your ancestral line or in your past lives, that being seen practicing a a certain spirituality, a certain religion even wasn't safe. That perhaps in a previous lifetime you were persecuted, or someone in your family was persecuted because of their religion. Those traumas energetically can still be present in our energy today, although it is now safe for us to be open about our spirituality, the fact that we are intuitive, the fact that we are healers, and so on. In that case, of course, this is something not to just brush under the carpet and forget about it, but there are a lot of wonderful healing techniques that go into past life regressions and ancestral healing and so on. So I would really strongly suggest that that's something to look. If you feel just awkward, unsafe being seen, that's definitely an area that might be part of the issue, something to address and go in and heal, and then come out of it stronger and more confident. Okay. Last but not least, feeling awkward asking for money. This is another big block, big fear that comes up. Now, you don't have to ask for money if your spiritual practice or intuitive work or healing work is just for yourself. This doesn't necessarily apply for you. But in my experience, when people know that you do some sort of healing practice, or maybe you read cards, they're going to ask you, hey, will you do a session for me? Or will you read cards for me? And of course, in some occasions, it's not appropriate to ask for money. Maybe it's just a friend asking you to do a quick healing session for them. But what I would suggest is always ask for something in return. And something in return can be a coffee, can be a thank you card. It doesn't have to be a financial transaction, but it's very important to have that energetic balance between giving and receiving, so that things are kept very balanced for both of you. Now, if you do want to, and I've seen here that we have some Reiki healers and some people that have, psychic readers. So people that presumably you guys do this for work or in a professional capacity. If you feel that there is any sort of discomfort around asking for money, it might simply be that you're not used to do that, and so that energetic muscle is not very well oiled, and it feels like a bit of a foreign energy that you're not used to work with. It might be that there is an element of lack of self-worth. But again, what I would look into, and I've seen in my experience that very often there are some past blocks and energetic trauma that would be, again, potentially some past lives contracts around poverty. If you have past life experiences of being perhaps someone within a certain religious environment, maybe you were a nun, maybe you were a priest, or the equivalent of that in whatever other religion, it is possible that maybe you made a contract or a vow of poverty, and this has been just carried into your current life. So although perhaps you're not even religious, just spiritual in this lifetime, that contract might still be in place. So that's something else to look into. Okay, so this is for like the most common blocks and fears that I have encountered, and some suggestions on how to begin to tackle them. All right, okay, now moving on. Something that I wanted to share with you is talking about the concept of confidence. As I said at the beginning, it can be a loaded word in so many ways. We see this in magazine, we see it on social media. Everyone is talking about confidence, confidence, confidence. And I think a lot of intuitives, a lot of healers are actually not extroverted people, and believe it or not, I'm not an extroverted person either. I have learned through the years social skills that allow me to be in front of an audience and talk to people and teach and so on. I'm a very private person. I'm really introverted. So for me, in my experience, the two things, being extroverted or introverted and being confident, they don't really need to go together. And something that I would invite you to embrace, and I'm going to make sure that I kind of copy and paste this in the chat as well for you, is a new definition of confidence. Here it goes. Confidence is the awareness of one's strengths and weaknesses, embraced with objectivity and vulnerability, without ego or shame. I'm going to repeat this once more. Confidence is the awareness of one's strengths and weaknesses, embraced with objectivity and vulnerability, without ego or shame. Let me give you a personal example. There are a few things that I'm exceptionally good at. I'm a pretty good cook. I'm really good at organizing and planning things. When it comes to my spiritual practice, I'm a really good tarot reader. I'm really good at channeling, and I'm a pretty decent healer too. And there are some things that I'm really, really bad at. I'm an extremely impatient person. I am not very good when it comes to my spiritual practice at doing anything that has to do with mediumship. It's just a skill that I don't have. I don't have a lot of knowledge of numerology or astrology, just a basic working knowledge, but no more than that. And you know what? I'm fine with everything that I said. I cannot be perfect across the board. And I feel very confident in the awareness that both in my spiritual practice and my personal life, I have things that I can do really well, and I feel proud of all the time and the commitment that I put in those things to expand my natural talents and inclination, and really fine-tune my skills and what I can do for others and for myself. And there are things that I'm just not really good at. If you put me on a platform and ask me to do platform mediumship, oh, you would have a really bad evening. Like, I wouldn't be able to bring forward one single person for you or one single message. And that's okay. I don't have to be good at everything. I don't have to be perfect or proficient or knowledgeable about everything. There are other people that do that. The school, for example, has a wonderful medium who teaches at the school, Donna Stewart. She's fantastic. She can do that. So not everyone needs to feel that they need to tick all the boxes. And the key really that I want to share with you here is the objectivity. In my experience, people that lack self-confidence, they actually lack objectivity. They do not see how good they are at certain things. Their self-doubt is just blinding them. And what breaks my heart is that with students, for example, it is typically the most talented ones that have this self-doubt, and they don't see how good, how committed, how just wonderful at what they are, or what they do they are. So this is something that really I want to read once more and share with you, and invite you to take this definition and maybe sit on it, or journal or meditate on it, because I feel it makes such a difference, and it makes you feel instantly so empowered and at peace with yourself. So confident is the awareness of one's strengths and weaknesses, embraced with objectivity and vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I feel awkward about this. Totally fine. Without ego or shame. Okay. Side note, please don't confuse lack of confidence with discomfort. Those are two different things. If you feel a little bit like wobbly and a little bit excited, but also a little bit fearful about doing something, that's not necessarily lack of confidence. That's maybe you growing into something new, and that's just good discomfort of growing in your energy and doing new things in your practice. Now, one thing, we still have a little bit of time together this evening, so something that I thought would be very helpful for you all is to share not just my definition of confidence, but to share with you a very powerful mindset shift that if you really embrace it, I really don't think you will doubt yourself or your abilities ever again. As we said at the beginning, you're probably feeling like you want to make a difference, right? You really want to go out there, make a difference to others. You see yourself as someone that can make positive change, that can have an impact, and so on. But that is, for as much as that's noble, that can be also quite daunting, because the self-doubt creeps in and you start thinking, I want to make a difference, but how do I do that? And am I good enough to make a difference? Do I have the right skills? Do I need to train more? Do I need to wait? Do I need to learn more things? So making a difference can be both a inspiring way of looking at things, but can be also quite limiting. Here is the mindset shift. Go from making a difference to contributing. Move your energy from I am going to make a difference to I'm here to help and I would like to contribute. If you do this mindset shift, you will never find yourself in a situation where there isn't something that you can help with, where there isn't one little thing that you can contribute towards. And I've learned this, and if you have perhaps a similar family life to mine, I grew up I'm the only child, but I grew up in a bigger family with my cousins and so on. Sunday lunch was a time where everyone had something to do. Someone would be cooking, someone would be making a fire, someone would be setting the table. Everyone was contributing. And for us kids, when we were little, the kids were tasked with more simple things, maybe folding the napkins or going to the garden, picking up some flowers for decoration, simpler things. But we were all contributing to that shared experience. If you get into this mindset of contributing versus making a difference, you will never experience lack of confidence ever again, because you will always know that there is a way for you of participating in a meaningful and helpful way. No matter how little, you will always be able to bring your little breadcrumb to contribute to the bigger picture. Now, energetically, since we have lots of people that are either Reiki healers or other types of healers, so energetically, really this mindset shift is something that brings our focus from our solar plexus, so from a place of ego and expressing ourselves and our personality and interfacing with the world, to our heart chakra. So we go from a position of I to us and we together. And with the heart chakra, as those of you who are into healing and energy and so on will know, the heart chakra is also very strongly connected with your root chakra, which means that not only you're bringing together that wonderful sense of wanting to connect and help and contribute and be part of a bigger picture, right? But you're also grounding yourself. And in grounding yourself, you get to a point where you're going to have the right energy that really fuels and supports your desires, makes you feel more at home in your body, makes you feel more present. So your desire to help and contribute with to others is going to be supported by that lovely grounding energy. Okay, so since we have still a few minutes before we open to the various Q&As, I would like to do an exercise with you. And if there are any questions at the end, we can take that at the end. But I would like to invite you to join me for a little exercise. It's a little guided meditation that I came up with to help all of us learning a bit more about our fears and learning a bit more about our gifts and what we have to share with the world. So I invite you to find a really comfortable position. I always like to close my eyes so that I don't get distracted by anything that is around me. And it really helps me to bring my focus back to myself and my body, to just gently with the sense of touch with my body, and just feel my presence in the body, and remind myself that yes, I am a spiritual being, but I'm also blessed to have a body, and I'm so thankful for it. So just take a moment to reconnect with yourself, with your body. Be present, be here, and express your gratitude to your body for the wonderful work and support that does every day for you, carrying you through all your busy schedules, your responsibilities, work, family, friends, all the commitments that you have, always being present for you. And then I'd like you to visualize yourself in the room where you're in right now. And visualize yourself getting up and going towards the door, the main door of your home, whether it's a house or a flat. Just go towards the main door. And as you walk towards the main door, you notice that there is something a bit different. It's not the usual door as you know it. It's actually the door of a lift. So you can press the button and call the lift, and the lift takes you down to the basement. And you are a little bit surprised because you've never noticed that there was a basement, or perhaps it looks a bit different to the one that you already have. And as you arrive in the basement, you notice that it's filled with all sorts of weird and wonderful objects. It's almost like the storage facility of a museum. There are all sorts of different artifacts and strange objects, all nicely catalogued. Plenty of storage for all sorts of different interesting and fascinating things. And as you look around, you realize that there's quite a lot of things around you. So it might take you a while to find what you're looking for. But luckily, there is an energy that comes forward. And this energy is the keeper of this beautiful space. And as the keeper of this space, the energy knows where everything is, how everything is organized. So you're able to ask them to give you a hand. And I would like you to ask this energy to take you to your shield. This energy will take you to see your shield. And it is a proper battle shield. Just take a moment and look at it, see what shape it has, what material is made of. Perhaps there is a symbol on it. Is it painted? Does it have any inscriptions? This shield is the fear of the block that you've been carrying with you. And it has been helpful in protecting you and keeping you safe, but you don't need it anymore. And as you realize that this is your fear or your block, you also realize it's quite heavy and it has prevented you from moving freely. And there is no need for you to be carrying this with you. So since you have this very helpful energy next to you, this energy will help you carry that fear, will help you acknowledge it, but not always having it stored, not always having it there as part of your energy. And release it if it's appropriate. Acknowledge it for all the support and maybe the good intention that was behind this fear to keep you safe, to keep you healthy, but also that now it's not needed anymore. So this energy, the keeper of this beautiful storage facility, this secret basement, can help you release the shield, the armor that you've been carrying. And as you do this energy has an additional gift for you. And this gift, they put it in your hand. And as you open your hands, you realize there is a little message, handwritten note. And it talks about your strengths, your gifts, what you're wonderful at. So take one moment to cherish this written note that has been given to you. To bring awareness to your gifts, to bring awareness to everything that you have to offer, and treasure it. And bring it to your heart center. And from your heart energy, just feel these beautiful, encouraging words just flowing throughout your being, bringing you awareness and clarity and confidence. And now it's time to walk back towards the lift, in the knowledge that anytime that you're curious about this basement and all the wonderful items that are stored here, if you ever want to come back and release anything new, anything that you haven't seen or acknowledged before, you can come back, and there will always be this very helpful energy here to guide you, to support you, to help you healing. So gently make your way back to the lift and call it, and let it bring you up to your front door. And gently walk yourself back to your body, into the room, into the physical space of your being. And what I find is very helpful to really re-ground myself into my body and my energy is to quietly say to myself my first name 3 times. And that really brings me back into my body. And take a deep breath in and out. Once you're ready, bring yourself back into the room and back into this wonderful group experience with all of us. Okay. Hope everyone is back. Okay, so this is an exercise that, of course, with time constraints, we're done a little bit quickly, but you can always go back to this meditation. It's very effective to go into the storage facility, finding whatever object is representing a fear, a block, and take some time to really work with it, acknowledge it, understand it, release it, so that you don't need it anymore, you don't carry anymore. That burden, that shield that perhaps has kept you safe for some time, but you don't need it anymore. And there are always wonderful energies that come to help and support you. Okay, so at this point, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Mark, I don't know if we have any questions, if we can help and support anyone that has asked questions.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, there's sort of one question. I'm not sure if it's a question or a statement. but perhaps you can comment to that. Antonia says, we are unique, and therefore, for each healer or spiritual teacher, there's a client or student that will embrace you.
Yes, 100% I agree. 100%. I think that we have our own individual style, and there are people who are wonderful animal healers. There are people who are wonderful healers that work with children. There are people who work with codes and attachments. We all have our niche, and sometimes I like to see this like we all work in the same kitchen. We just have different roles. So there is someone who specializes in making beautiful desserts, and there is someone who specializes in maybe cooking fish or meat. We all have our very special, unique gift, and there is that very special person or client that is a perfect match for us. And it's important to know yourself and acknowledging your strengths and your weaknesses, so that when someone comes to you, you can very confidently say, yes, I'm going to be just the perfect match for you, or no, I'm not, but here is the name of somebody else that would be just perfect for you.
Great, thanks.
So, yes, I agree completely.
You have a course coming up, tarot reading for beginners. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so tarot reading, so it's called Tarot for Beginners, is one of my most popular courses for absolute beginners. So whether you don't have a deck, you just bought one on Amazon, or maybe you had one for some time but you never used it, or you want to learn more about tarot, it's an 8-week course. It's quite it's full of not just information but interaction and readings. We have a WhatsApp group going. We'll learn everything from the suits, the majors, doing readings for yourself and for others, using tarot not just for divination but also for self-awareness and self-development, creating creating and delivering meaningful readings for others and for ourselves. There's just so much content. It's a fun group experience, and yes, it's coming up and starting on the 1st of September, which is a Wednesday. Is going to be between the 1st of September and the 27th of October, which I think, going into more the autumn season, if you are like me in the UK, it's kind of nice to have something planned. If you're in South Africa, I'm sure it would be very nice for you to join us as well. So yeah, highly recommended. It's always so much fun. I'm so passionate about tarot, and I'm always so blessed to have amazing students, and we always learn together something new every time that I run this course.
Great, thank you. So for everybody who saw that, there's a 25% discount by using that promo code. I'll show you again. There we go. My computer would behave itself. We'll come back to that.
Yes.
There's a promo 25% discount for signing up with the promo code. I'll read it to you because that way I can. So if you're South African and watching from South Africa, Moyo Tarot SA is the promo code. And if you are booking that from Europe or elsewhere in the world, you can use the promo code Moyo Tarot INT for international. So I'll show that to you again. But we've got a couple more questions coming in here.
Yes. I have also some of my lovely students in the chat. Thank you, guys. That's very kind of you. So are the classes once a week? Yes, they will be once a week. Yes. And then there is interaction in between the classes with some homework, WhatsApp group for sharing readings and sharing feedback. So I like to say it's more of an 8-week experience rather than just the evening where you get the lesson. It's a beautiful learning experience. We always have lots of fun. Mark, is it okay if we have time? I'd like to answer Lisa's question, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So Lisa says, I do struggle with accepting money. So how do you suggest dealing with clearing this? I think it is exactly what you said, a possible vow of poverty from past life. Any suggestions, or is that another course? No, I think especially if you're someone who has knowledge of energy and past life and has done past life clearings and so forth in the past, you can absolutely do this safely with a few hints and tips. What I would do is obviously you can work with someone that does past life regressions, hypnotherapy and so on, or you can do it yourself. But I would very intentionally go back in pinpointing which one this lifetime is exactly. And with what I found is that with poverty vows, it's very important to not only to acknowledge them, but to show respect for when the vow was made, because likely was extremely important from that version of you back then. And so it's important not to just say, oh, I just want to break this and I don't care about it, but to really treat it with respect and to acknowledge that was extremely important in that lifetime, but also that is not appropriate or relevant for this lifetime because times have changed and situations are different. So you maintain the respect for that vow that you have made, but you also kind of update your file in a sense, because sometimes your energy, I feel, is a little bit like software that hasn't been updated for some time. It needs a little bit of an upgrade. So you acknowledge that with respect, but you also release it in terms of being a multi-life type of vow, if that makes sense. Very quick answer to your question.
Great, thanks, Ella. That's a great answer. So we've got a question here from Shaka Lish. How do you manage in a reading or a healing when the clients can't take the message? What do you recommend to say in those circumstances?
Okay, so here is one thing that I feel very passionate about. All my services, I always say, I'm very happy to give money back if you're not happy with the experience. So if you charge with your services, it's always, I think, a great boundary to have that option of giving money back, because that way, the reason why I say it's a boundary is because you don't feel that you have to carry on in something that you just feel is not working. So if it's a service that you're charging for, you can just say, look, I can see that for whatever reason, whether it's me, you, or just the mix of the two of us, our energies are not clicking today. I don't feel you're getting value out of this time that we have together. I would be very happy to refund your money. So if that's a situation where you are charging. If it's a situation where the client is not resonating with the messages, this could be for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're not ready to hear those messages. So my suggestion would be that you say to the client, would you like to take a few notes? So that in time, maybe 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, a month from now, you can go back and read your notes and see if something perhaps has shifted in your life and these messages resonate with you. So I would suggest that to that client. Something else that sometimes you will notice is that the message, what you see and what you're delivering is confused, because the message in itself is about confusion and you're reading the energy of the client in that time and in that moment. So instead of kind of breaking through that layer of confused, I don't know what to do with my life, I feel lost, you're reading that energy and you're kind of getting almost stuck in that energy, and what you are delivering isn't clear for that reason. So if that's the case, what I would suggest is that you strengthen your grounding, and then after you really strengthen your grounding, you push yourself up again and reconnect and get stronger messages, clearer messages, pushing through that barrier of maybe uncertainty and confusion that you might be picking up from your client, because maybe that's what they are experiencing. So I just gave you a few different scenarios depending really on what the situation is specifically with the client. But for me, it happens sometimes, and I would say it is okay to reset the reading and say, okay, I can see this is not working. How about we take a pause, we reground ourselves, and we start again. That's also something else that you can do. So I give you a few different answers depending on what the exact situation is. I hope that's helpful. Okay, cool.
She says it is. Okay, we're running close to the finish time here, but there's a very interesting question from Sarah. She says, I'm considering ancestral healing for living my psychic life openly. Can you tell me more about ancestral healing and what it helps with, so I can see if it's right for me?
Okay, so the concept of ancestral healing is that in the same way as perhaps we have inherited the color of our eyes from our grandfather, or the color of our hair from our great-grandmother, we also inherit some energetic patterns, and in some cases some traumas. So these are things that have been passed down our family tree, and they still affect us today. Now, some of these things can be very well-meaning, okay? So perhaps we have an ancestor that really wanted us to know that it's important not to starve, or that it's important not to catch the plague, you know, things that back then when these people were alive were really good pieces of advice, but that today are not relevant anymore. So these are things that you can clear. There are also other things that you can clear that have to do with maybe unresolved issues that these people experience in their lifetimes. And instead of dealing with them, they have most likely in a subconscious, unaware way passed down to other generations, and you now have this bucket of feelings and guilt and shame and issues that really don't belong to you. So the ancestral healing works to understand what these issues are, and whether those issues are yours, or most likely that they connect with an ancestor, and then working with that ancestor to acknowledge it and get them to take responsibility for these issues, and then releasing them. So there are loads of different techniques, but I would highly suggest it, because unfortunately, together with our beautiful looks, we also sometimes carry things from our family that are a little bit less helpful. And it might be something that in your family, the concept of being psychic was traditionally not embraced. It might be like a block that comes from that, for example.
One last time, Sole, thank you so much for your time and your energy.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Take care.